Over the past 75 years, more than 10,000 chemicals have entered our food supply, but the EU allows just 300 additives. At Thrive Market, we prioritize quality, banning over 1,000 ingredients found in conventional grocery stores. Our Healthy Swap scanner helps you find better versions of your pantry essentials without the junk, dyes, or fillers, and everything is delivered right to your doorstep. So shop at a grocery store that actually cares about your health at thrivemarket.com/get-started for 30% off your first order and a free $60 gift.
Yes. The mic. Here. We're on ground.
The fact is, we had 4 dead Americans. Was it because of a protest, or was it because of guys out for a walk one night who decided they'd go kill some Americans? What difference at this point does it make?
It makes a lot of difference.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it makes any difference whatsoever. You ignorant female person who is going to be running for office in 2016.
Is that pre or post lobotomy?
That was after she smacked her head.
Yeah, that was after she smacked her head.
That was after the administration tried to do surgery.
How does she get a concussion? Seriously, was it like a wild night with Bill?
No, we all know that's not the case.
I didn't think her husband.
Well, that's a good point.
Could've been Bill Cosby.
Either way, it is the Sackheads Radio Show. It's our Benghazi special, if you will. It's the 8th of May, 2013.
We're not talking about that.
And we will see you guys on the phone and joining us for the show.
Hang on a second. You are who?
Oh, I'm Sean.
There you go.
I'm Sackhead Sean, Sackhead Clint sitting across from me.
That's
to the
me.
right,
You
the
can't
good
see.
man, Sackhead Sacco.
He's actually in studio tonight. So, Sacco, thank you for showing up tonight. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Chat room's open. We are going to be discussing Benghazi, 347-205-9399. On with us right now, as I said, we have Ken from the Exceptional Conservative Show. We have a lot to cover. First, Ken, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Glad to welcome you from the nation's capital, where the #1 cover-up story of the day is Simon and Schuster versus Foxy Brown. The story out of Washington is that Simon and Schuster wanted $75,000 back because they did not get the tell-all story about how Jay-Z is actually gay. So I'm glad that we're having an opportunity tonight to talk about this. I didn't know it would get this type of notoriety, but apparently all around the world they're talking about this cover-up.
Hey, Ken, I'm sorry. I don't mean to rain on your parade. There's actually another cover-up going on. I don't know if you're aware of it.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
So, yeah. Well, it may be hard to remember because it happened so long ago that it's really not important anymore, according to the Carney. But you know the nerd that looks like he got beat up.
Benghazi, since the president spoke yesterday briefly about that, the Defense Department and the State Department both have written letters, as I understand it, to Republican Darrell Issa saying that they're not aware of anyone coming to them asking for security clearances for their counsel or anything to come forward. First, is that your understanding? And second, if someone were to come forward, if they just haven't technically told their superior or something, if they were to come forward, is the White House willing to let them testify?
Well, again, I mean, that's a hypothetical, but let's be clear. Benghazi happened a long time ago. We are unaware of any agency blocking an employee who would like to appear before Congress to provide information related to Benghazi.
We're not aware. In other words, nobody said to me, hey, Jay, just so you know, we're blocking these, 23 people from saying that. Nobody's told us directly, so we don't know if it's happening. Listen, we're obviously not in control of the situation. Look what happened to Benghazi.
Hang on a second. Anytime that jackwagon says, let's be clear, you know bullshit is ready to come out of that man's mouth.
He is lying like a rug.
Do you think before he got his ass kicked for lunch money, like in high school and junior high, he said, hang on a second, guys, let's be clear, I don't have any money. And then they kicked his ass and they realized he actually did have money? So you know every bully that kicked his ass is like, no, he said, let's be clear. He's got money. He's clear.
Oh, but I really love the relativity of time and space to them. You know, it's like...
Go ahead.
No, it's simply to me, I think if global warming, which has taken thousands of years, is so relative to this moment, that something that happened merely 8 months ago might be a little bit more prominent in our thinking and pertinent to our ambitions in terms of dealing with. But certainly not this.
Let's take this to a very controversial set, and I'm going to jump right to it and get hate mail for it. What if we said, hey, you know, slavery and the civil rights movement, that happened so long ago. I mean, really, what's the big deal?
Man, that's passé. That's
right?
out.
Now, hang on. Was that racist or funny? Was that racist?
Our official judge on this now. We have a new segment on the show we're calling Racist or Funny. And you have to tell us right now, was that racist or funny?
Oh, my God.
Hang on a second. The fact that Sean knows...
Bunker moment.
Hang on a second. The fact that Sean knows you're black and he's asking you to be the judge, is that in and of itself racist or funny?
So wait a minute, hold up.
What's
Clint?
Yes, sir.
Are you trying to say black people can't be judges? That's kind of racist.
Yeah. I'm going to get in touch with Clarence and have a discussion about this. He needs to be here. So I think it's amazing how
good I look tonight. Thank you. I actually wore this outfit just for you. That's not what you were going to say.
To get back to the time not being in effect anymore. Remember when they blamed Bush for everything? What? Time not being in effect.
Oh, blaming Bush for everything,
which is
common in divorces.
5 years, yes.
Yep.
And then now, 8 months ago, 4 dead Americans under their watch. Well, that happened so long ago.
It was so long ago. What's it matter?
Isn't that a flag? Like, doesn't that send up a flag to a lot of people?
Like a red flag with a sickle and a hammer?
Something, some sort of flag. I don't care if it's an upside-down Sackheads flag, which we have one in the studio.
We would not put that upside down. That is
only if we were on a ship that was in trouble.
Right.
I must say here.
If the aircraft carrier
if I could interrupt with an Alan Alda moment here, just for a moment, if we could just bring it down a notch just here. How cold must these MFs really be of heart to compare this to Watergate? No one died in Watergate.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. A few things were broken, but no one died in Watergate.
No, but you know what?
4 people died.
Yeah.
You know what, though,
including an ambassador.
Yeah, but the difference is that was a white Republican.
Oh, sorry, my fault, my bad. My bad.
That has a lot
to do with it.
That has a lot to do with it.
I mean, think about it. Every time this guy gets called out, one of his minions immediately goes to the race card, and it doesn't matter anymore what he's getting called out on.
Well,
exactly.
That's the easy response versus dealing with the actual problem.
Can you imagine if the House votes to impeach? Can you imagine the cries? No, forget about the 4 dead Americans. Can you imagine the cries for racism?
Yeah. I mean, it's absolutely insane. And I want to know who Pelosi's going to walk out arm in arm with.
John McCain.
It doesn't matter. She wouldn't be aware one way or the other.
Lindsey Graham.
But I tell you who she... Remember the pictures of Elijah Cummings holding her hand or giving her arm, holding arm in arm together as they were walking out after the disgraceful loss of 2010, and they were trying to show America that they were still strong. Elijah Cummings was the biggest buffoon today on national television. Anytime you open up with a statement that says death happens, you need to just shut up for the rest of the afternoon.
Well, and it's funny.
Total idiot.
It's going to be a square table. It's going to be out of a round table soon because Rooster's on hold. But I want to play Representative Cummings' statement because this was particularly offensive.
They have already testified repeatedly that they did everything in their power to mobilize and deploy assets as soon as possible, and every independent and bipartisan review has confirmed this fact. We have the best military in the world, but even with all of their technological advances, they could not get there in time. Mr. Hicks, I know these answers provide no comfort to you or the families of the victims, but this is the testimony Congress has received, and I have seen nothing to make me question the truthfulness of our nation's military commanders. Our committee has a fundamental obligation to conduct responsible oversight, and that includes carefully examining the information that you and others provide. But we also have a duty to thoroughly investigate these claims before we make public accusations. In contrast, what we have seen over the past 2 weeks is a full-scale media campaign that is not designed to investigate what happened in a responsible and bipartisan way, but rather a launch of unfounded accusations to smear public officials. Let me be clear. I am not questioning the motives of our witnesses. I am questioning the motives of those who want to use their statements for political purposes.
Marriage is what brings us here today. Doesn't he sound like the guy from Spaceball?
Yes. And I also noticed...
No, that's only my favorite Mel Brooks movie, though. That's Blazing Saddles.
Blazing Saddles is a bomb.
Oh, I love that movie. You know, again,
Blazing Saddles, racist or funny?
Funny. Absolutely funny.
Absolutely hilarious.
The best line in that is...
Forgive me, FBI, I did say bomb, but there's nothing to it.
Best line of Blazing Saddles is, but we don't want the Irish. And he says it with an Irish brogue, which is even better. So Representative Cummings says, let me be clear.
Which, as we know,
is a lie.
Or
I am not questioning the reason that the people are here testifying. I'm questioning the reason that we're here in general, and that this whole thing is just this media made-up witch hunt. And Benghazi didn't even really happen, is what I took out of it from him, right?
Yeah, just like the Holocaust didn't happen for Ahmadinejad.
Benghazi isn't even a real place. Is it? It's somewhere. I don't even. Why are we here?
This is just. So we already heard that lie get brought forth. So we already know where he's coming from. By the way, this bipartisan committee, all the Democrats, if you watch them during today, and I watched it for a long time, they all look like they were either bored or didn't want to be there for some strange reason.
They don't want to be there because they're like, oh, shit. I have no idea how we're going to get around this one. Because here's an interesting thing. If impeachment charges are brought, okay, which is possible.
Yeah.
Very possible.
If impeachment charges are brought, now you have the Dems in the Senate and even I think in the House saying, yeah, you know what? More media is starting to pay attention to this, even more so than Fox.
We might have to.
And if I don't do the right thing, my seat may be in jeopardy.
And I want to get reelected.
And I really want to get reelected.
Well, and you know,
this is not Clinton lied about a blowjob.
No,
this is four Americans
into a hotel.
Right. This is four Americans got killed.
A U.S. ambassador died, and then the president and the Secretary of State the next day stood on the lawn of the White House and fabricated a story that was then fabricated 5 more times by our ambassadors to the United Nations on behalf of the administration. So this is kind of a big deal. And I think one of the things, and I'm going to bring Rooster in to ask him about this, because one of the things that Rooster said that months ago is that eventually Hillary's going to have to come clean if she wants to save herself politically.
And I want to get Rooster's thought on this also, but I think in any political campaign, that soundbite of what difference does it make is going to be wrapped around her head politically, and that is going to be a very tough thing to come back from, even if she plays the heroine in this. And I don't mean like shooting up into her arm, although somebody would have to do that to stay married to her, I would imagine. But I'm talking like the female hero.
Hey, Rooster, you're there. Do you think, I know you're on the line with us, do you think now this is going to really force Hillary's hand after the testimony you heard today? Do you think it's going to force her hand harder?
Hang on a second. I don't want to be rude. Hello, Rooster. How are you, sir?
Rooster.
Did he nod off?
There he is. Nope, he didn't nod off. I think we had a bad connection.
I think Sato nodded off.
You know what we're waiting for? We're waiting for that.
Red, white, and blue. That's a joke, son. A flag waver.
Rooster won't talk now. He's so high on his horse, he will not talk on our show until he gets his own intro.
Ken, let me formally introduce myself, Ken. I am a white boy.
Hello, Rooster. You guys should do your own buddy television show. That would be
no. I just wanted to get it out there right now. I'm a white boy. I grew up in Eastover, and I worked at the Heckinger on Benning Road. I think we probably traveled some of the same areas.
If you guys want to have a little home week, I'll put you guys in the chat room together.
Now let's set the record clear. Clinton never lied about a blowjob. The definition of sexual relations just differed with ours.
Oh, that's what it was.
But Rooster, honestly, I have to give you credit because I think you're one of the first people I heard say this, is that this incident was going to force the hearings were going to force Hillary to turn against Obama and force her to testify to save her political career. I had not heard that anywhere else. And you were saying after Benghazi happened, within a week, I think you said it, that the truth's going to have to come out, or she's just pretty much sealing her own fate. After you watched,
though I did think it was going to happen before the election.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I mean, to be clear, I thought it would happen before the election, but I still feel the same way. But I don't think today's testimony did it. I think there's going to have to be another hearing. And I want to hear from the CIA folks.
Well, yeah, I do too. And there's that whole thing about the narrative, the talking points that they put out that the administration said, we cleaned up the verbiage, so to speak, but we didn't change any of the content. We turned out the exact talking points the CIA gave us, which immediately it's already been confirmed that that's not true.
And the CIA is not letting their employees testify out of fear that it could put them in danger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to hear from General Ham.
Yeah.
Well, General, I have some news for you all on that one. First and foremost, General Ham was not, I repeat, not at AFRICOM on the 9/11 event. He was back here in Washington, D.C. So that's not been released. Yes. So that's not been released to the news, or at least the news hasn't done the research that I've done, which means that he has already been pulled by this administration off duty at that particular time period, and someone else had relieved him of his particular duty, which might mess up if they ever get a chance to bring the military in on this investigation. That would completely mess up the stand-down order story that was given by the White House. And so the big question tonight, and I think Trey Gowdy did a very good job bringing it to the fore, is who ordered the stand-down. Every stand-down order in the military has to have a written statement accompanying it, indicating that the party who gave it and the reason why. There's only one man in America that could give a stand-down order. Can y'all guess who that is?
I'm going to go with Rooster. He's our resident military expert. Rooster.
I thought you meant Rooster could give the order.
Oh.
It was Rooster. We found him.
All right. I'm going to take a guess real quick.
Not completely
not completely correct. The difference.
Not completely.
Not completely. The difference between our military and others is power is not limited to one single person. We're allowed to make our own decisions. General Ham could have issued that order based on the information he had. If he was in Washington, I agree with you, Ken. He could have had opportunity to be directed to do certain things, but he doesn't necessarily lose command and control just because he's in Washington. There are ways for him to communicate with his staff.
Well, and I also think, too, that he would probably have a delegate who is in charge of his post while he's in travel, and the few times that he might be out of communication, there has to be somebody there.
And that person would have complete control, and he could issue such an order, too. But I, as a veteran, as an American, I'm angry. As a veteran, I'm even angrier because you don't leave your own hanging out to dry. And the thing that really caught me today was 2 of the special operators in Tripoli were carjacked, and they drew down the security staff. That makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah,
they went from 8 to 4.
That is the most bizarre response to an incident that I have heard so far in all of this, and there's a lot that you have 2 special operators who get carjacked at Tripoli, and then they dial things back.
Now, here's the question that I want answered, and I really want the CIA to speak. Now, I said something on the show Friday night that was incorrect, and I'm going to correct the record now, but, considering everything that's out there has been a lie anyway, who can blame me for passing on something that's not necessarily true?
I do.
Right. Okay. Tyrone Woods, it is my understanding, was at the CIA annex with several special operators. It was he that went to Benghazi or went to save the
ambassador.
Right. Yeah. Glenn Dougherty was in Tripoli, and he flew in with the first response team, which included him and I'm not sure of the number, but I believe 8 special operators.
I think it was a total of 8. Somebody in the testimony said today.
Okay. Were they given permission to do that?
I didn't hear.
I haven't heard one way or another.
I haven't heard.
Okay. And if they can fly those guys in, why can't they fly more?
You know what? I have a difficult time believing because who was it? Gregory Hicks testified that he actually spoke with Hillary Clinton at some point while this was going on, and I have a difficult time believing that Secretary Clinton knew what was going on, was aware of what was going on, and I would have to assume she would have to notify the president. Otherwise, that would be a gross dereliction of duty on her part. But I have a difficult time believing that a General Ham or whoever was filling in for him in AFRICOM would make a unilateral decision when you know that an American embassy is under attack and that the ambassador has been killed, or maybe or not. The fact that a U.S. embassy is under attack, I don't know of any military general who would unilaterally make a decision to not send troops.
No, I agree, and my statement to Ken correcting the record, it doesn't mean that I don't believe the president gave that order, because I do.
Or delegated that authority to Secretary.
I mean, it's a big deal, but we also have a foreign response team. What were they doing? I mean, that is the whole reason that team is put together is to quickly intercede in situations like Benghazi.
Mm-hmm. Right. And Rooster, I'm going to go to you as our military expert. Could you imagine any sort of boss or commander making that decision, saying, hey, you know what, we're not going to go, even if it means that you're going to get in trouble? From what I know of military officers, many would say, I'm probably going to go and take my hit later.
In fact, they're allowed to if they think the order is unjust.
Okay. Yeah, there's no way.
But there's no way they would do that. And we're not talking about just run-of-the-mill soldiers. We're talking about special operators. We're talking about people that can call in strikes from an airplane to a
exactly.
Yeah, it makes absolutely no sense. The only thing that could have saved these people that day, other than a quick military response, is Wookiees.
and Sean is very close to fitting that bill. If you've ever seen him,
I'm actually letting my hair grow out.
Yeah, no.
So Ken,
yeah.
my assertion that Michelle Obama is a Wookiee, is that racist or not?
Funny.
No, actually, I think it's the bangs that give it away. And but we have to. If I could interject here, and I thank you for updating me in terms of that and the correction. But the bottom line is that on that particular night, 2 major military leaders were relieved of duty.
Mm-hmm.
General Ham and Admiral Gayot. They were relieved of duty. And the reason why they were relieved of duty, based on information that's being released through other channels, is because they said go, even when they received the stand-down order. And once they were relieved, the stand-down order went into place by someone else who had taken command in AFRICOM.
And that's why I want to know if that first response team had permission to go or not. And I told you guys on Friday night that I had heard that they did not, and they went anyway.
Well, do you remember? You remember Panetta actually went out and talked to the press, and he made a statement.
Yeah.
And he says that the basic principle is that you don't deploy forces into harm's way without knowing what's going on, without having some real-time information about what's taking place. Well, we know now they had that. They had the drones up. That footage has been classified as top secret. Nobody can see it, but they had it. So, okay, that was bullshit. Thanks, Leon. And then he says,
if you're a police officer and you hear the words, I don't know what it is in California or wherever, but if you hear 1013 come across the radio, do you care what's going on?
I don't know. I think I know where you're getting at. If anyone, if a firefighter calls for help,
officer needs help. What does a police officer do?
It's one of those things. Firefighter. It doesn't matter. Even if you're a regular person, take the guy in Cleveland. He didn't wait to get permission. He knew, and we're going to talk about that gentleman later because he's awesome. But the fact is all these people are trained to act.
This man's not trained to act. He put down his Big Mac and helped somebody.
Let's
I'm pretty sure our military can do that. Well, I want to finish what Panetta said.
Go ahead.
Panetta says, listen, as a result of not having that kind of information, again, bullshit, the commander who was on the ground, he says, the commander who was on the ground in that area, General Ham, General Dempsey, and I felt very strongly that we could not put forces at risk in that situation. I'm sorry. SecDef and General Ham, they don't reach orders by consensus. That would have to be run up to somewhere. And my guess would be the president, or if he delegated that authority to somebody specifically, which I doubt is the case, but I guess it is possible. There's no way that a commander acted unilaterally and said, nope, we're just not sending somebody. And I don't think they would do things by consensus either, and SecDef would just be like, yeah, we're not sending them.
I'd like to know where Obama. I'd like to know where Obama was while he was sleeping those 7 hours. Because he could have been at the White House.
He didn't leave yet.
He was doing a Wookiee.
Or being done by one.
All right.
Hey, on that note, we are up against a break.
Stay on hold, guys. We're going to pick you back up at the break. 347-205-9399 if you think you could ever get a word in edgewise here. This is the Sac Reds Radio Show.
What's Sac Reds?
Hey folks, this is Sackhead Clint. I want to take this opportunity to thank the men and women of our armed forces, as well as our first responders, law enforcement, firefighters, and emergency medical personnel. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for making this country and our communities a better and safer place. God bless.
Hello, I'm Ashley, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Dr. Larry Arnn on why the Constitution limits government.
James Madison writes in Federalist 51 that men are not angels. Their passions and self-interest often get the better of their reason and sense of justice. So we need government in order to protect our rights against those who would take them away. But for the same reason, Madison writes, government must be limited because people in government have passions and interests too. Many Americans today forget this, supposing that we can do away with constitutional limits on government, supposing that the unelected bureaucrats being put in charge of our health care, for example, will rule as if they are angels. If Madison was correct about human nature, this is foolish and dangerous.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.org.
Hi, this is Sarah Marie Brenner. You know, we often talk on the Brenner Brief about the fact that there really needs to be an organization to help people at the local level who are interested in running for things like school boards, city council, and other local offices. Well, I think I finally have the solution for you, at least for you women out there. It's called Politigal Network, POLITIGAL Network.com. Their website's going to be launching mid-August, but they're already on Twitter at PolitigalUSA. I encourage you to follow them and become a member. Their goal is to be the #1 resource for conservative women. So if you love freedom, liberty, the United States of America, and politics, check out PolitigalNetwork.com or Twitter at PolitigalUSA.
How you doing? John Grant here. When I'm not slaving over a hot microphone on the 405radio.com Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, I check out Sean and Clint here at Sackheads Radio. We all appreciate the best political bloggers, writers, and commentators. We either get them on our shows or we make fun of them, as it should be. So check us out live Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern or forever on the podcasts on the 405radio.com.
Hey guys, it's Sean from Sackheads Radio. I want to talk to you a minute about our friends over at HomefrontHugs.com. They're an amazing organization of volunteers who take their time, effort, and money to take care of our troops overseas as they serve our great nation. HomefrontHugs.com. You can donate, write letters to troops, adopt a troop, you name it, you can do it. Help those wonderful folks who protect our freedoms. Go to HomefrontHugs.com. Tell them Sackheads Radio sent you.
Now back to Clint and Sean on Sackheads Radio, radiating elegancy and quality.
Phone number is 347-205-9399 if you dare. We are in full Sackheads DEFCON 1 on the phone. With us right now, we have Ken from the Exceptional Conservative Show, Rooster from ConservativeOutcry.net. We are discussing the Benghazi hearings from today.
We have Clint and Sean from Sackheads Radio.
I thought that was kind of...
Yay!
I thought that was...
Yay!
Live studio audience.
That's right. I do have to comment on Sean's shirt because it is one of the awesomest shirts of all time.
I try to.
Is it mine?
And you know what? It might be. And first of all, how would he get your shirt? Because that's kind of weird.
Nope.
But that's another topic for another show.
I was gonna plug it for him.
But no, it's an OD green shirt, and on it says "A Real American Hero, G.I. Joe," with one of the original G.I. Joe battle buggies blazing, because they never shot any of the Cobra guys. It's just an awesome throwback shirt.
Well, and I did want to plug this.
You must have been a chubby baby.
Rooster actually has his shirts now available, so if you go to conservativeoutcry.net, you can get the link for Rooster's shirts and you can pick them up.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Awesome.
They're awesome.
Does it have a huge cock on it, like a rooster? Before
Right.
you think I'm being gross.
No,
like
they
a huge
look
cock on it.
No, it doesn't.
Rooster?
It looks great though. You'll have it's their little mascot, and
that's how they get started.
Angry
they
American.
start asking about the T-shirts and work their way down. I tell you.
All I gotta say, guys, and Sean and I had this discussion in private the other day, is bandwidth is getting expensive.
Yeah, no. Well, when you say certain things and you get people fired up, and it's it's funny is on here a lot of times you do a lot of on the level jokes, like on the surface, but when when you really read your articles, you go in depth much deeper, and sometimes the joke continues on, and other times it's just the quality of what you write. You're doing an excellent job over there, sir.
Oh, I got hammered today. They don't like my article from today.
I didn't get to it today because we're covering Benghazi all day. I love they.
The GOP establishment.
Oh, the one about Sanford.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll get into that because I do want to talk a little bit about Sanford later on, real quick. But Rooster,
I want a beating heart from Mary. Ken just got a beating heart on the chat board. I've never received one of
chat
those.
room right now.
Mary is my bouncer, so if you diss Mary, you diss me, and you will be dismissed. So
I would not
that's why I
mess
love
with Mary.
What does speak IB falsetto mean?
It doesn't even matter anymore.
I'm Clint.
I'm falsetto.
Sean falsetto? Yeah, I'm Clint. I'm the good-looking one, so you can tell by the radio.
Rooster's the one that's still trying to figure out modern technology.
Right.
Yes, I am.
And Ken has the laugh that'll light up an entire room. I love it.
Hey, I also have a very white voice.
Hey,
no, did you say a very white
I'm mobile
voice?
now.
Because I disagree with you.
I disagree with you, too. However, again, very white voice. Racist or funny.
Very white voice. I think he said it.
It's funny.
It's funny.
No, that's racist.
So
you're racist taking it that way.
Rooster, during the break, threw something up in the chat room that Clint commented on, and I thought actually was true. We need somebody else other than McCain or Graham. One more hearing like today, and a lot of Dems will jump ship. Clint, what was your point on that comment?
My point on that is McCain and Graham are damn near Dems anyways, so...
Yeah.
So we need somebody well beyond that. Yeah, we need somebody way past that.
Boehner
Look, John McCain has my respect.
John McClane, what are we, in Die Hard right now? Seriously, we need to turn the movie off and pay attention to the show.
And now is when the F-bomb would come out.
It already did. You threw it out without realizing it.
John McCain will always have my respect. I don't agree with his politics, but he has my respect.
It still doesn't change his political point of view.
Right.
Which is what I was calling.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. If John McCain were in charge of the troops in Benghazi, this wouldn't have happened.
Absolutely not.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you there. That would not have happened. My biggest issue with McCain
didn't he
is
vote not guilty for Clinton when he lied about the blowjob?
Yeah.
I think he did.
And I think...
Sorry, I digress.
My issue with McCain is he should have retired about 10 years ago.
20.
As Nancy Pelosi, which is why that comment about him and Nancy walking hand in hand struck me as so funny.
That's Nancy Pelosi laughing about your comment.
I thought that was Ken.
I thought that was Ken. Well, speaking of other people finally needing to come out, Boehner released a statement today that
Boehner needs to be put out the pasture too. Glue factory.
Yeah, well, no, I agree with you. I couldn't agree with you more. He needs to be put out to pasture. But he's actually saying something about this, which he really has been mostly silent about, which kind of drives me crazy because he's another one that doesn't step up when it's time.
Yeah.
And this is another chance that now that you have guys like Cowdy and Issa that are actually pushing the issue and not backing down, and then Boehner wants to come out and be like, "Oh yeah, I'm with those guys." By the way, all of a sudden,
the problem with Boehner is,
go ahead.
The problem with Boehner is he has one thing in common with Obama. His
re-election?
No, his wife has his balls in a jar. She keeps them in his.
Which is really
purse.
funny because we call him boner, and I guess we should probably take that away now. Because
No. The boner is a completely different part of the anatomy.
Oh, that's a good point. But don't you need one?
Here,
for
watch.
the other?
Let me draw you a
Doesn't
picture.
matter.
Look, see?
Oh,
I'll say right here.
Oh, I just knew we were going someplace else when Clint said, "Watch."
It's almost like he said, "Let me be clear."
Right.
So now, Clint, I want
What?
Boehner finally came out and wrote a letter today about Benghazi.
That was nice of him.
Too little, too late on his.
Oh, he
behalf?
wrote a letter.
Yeah, he wrote a freaking letter. Big deal.
Okay. I just wanted you to chime in on that because your little comments are usually well worth the while. That I was wrong.
Yeah, he finally wrote a letter. Yay, boner. I have. That's all I have. Look,
I am going to loop that yay boner over and over and over at some point.
This man is the Speaker of the House. Okay, you have a House committee who is holding this inquiry, these hearings, and I would think that as not only the Speaker of the House, but also as supposedly a leading member of the Republican Party, you would support Representative Issa, who's kind of leading the charge on this whole thing. Say something about it. You know, how he could remain silent, and now all of a sudden he writes a letter. Big deal. I despise that man.
Well, it just, I don't understand why he hasn't been at the forefront of this push from the beginning.
Because he's weak.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why he's weak. Look, he is so worried about, and I don't know, I'm not him, thank God, but he is so worried about, well, if I get in bed with this, then I might piss off Obama and the Democrats, and then we won't be able to work, and then I'll look mean, and I'm already looking mean, and I'm up for re-election, and I don't want to lose my speakership. Oh, wait, then I probably should say something, but then I'll piss. I mean, the guy is just, you know what, he's got low blood sugar. He's got no backbone. I don't know what the deal is.
Teardrops all over my pillows.
The loss of speakership in the next session is a given.
Yeah. Absolutely, because the Dems are going to take the House.
Wow. Are you predicting that?
No, I'm not predicting that. What? If the Republicans keep going the way they're going, I can see them losing the House.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
Especially under Boehner's leadership. He is handing the House back to the Democrats because he is leaving the Republicans nothing to run on, nothing to separate themselves from the Democrats on. But that's just a side note. We were talking about Benghazi.
Well, no, but we brought up Boehner for a few minutes, and I agree, but here's the problem. I think he is going to run.
I just love the fact you said we brought the boner up for a few minutes. I'm sorry. I'm like a 12-year-old. I'm just giggling.
He's almost going to do the anti-Hillary on this. He's going to run on
boner.
Hey, you know what? It was the Republicans that pushed Benghazi. It was the Republicans that got the truth out. It was the Republicans that did this. I'm the Speaker of the House, blah, blah. He's going to push that narrative, and by then it's going to be forgotten that he did nothing.
No, it won't.
Until today.
No, it won't, because he has a primary to go against, and everybody who's running against him will point out that he's the biggest flop in Republican leadership, and I think he's going nowhere. He's going nowhere. I'm not worried about him.
The only thing that'll save him is if he can prove that his nickname really should be Tripod.
That would save a lot of us, though, wouldn't it? So I want to get into some of the testimony that was given today, and I want to start off with Gregory Hicks and his whole statement about "I loved my job." I really thought that this was one of the bigger parts of the testimony given today.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Ranking Member. Thank you, members of the committee. I am a career public servant. Until the aftermath of Benghazi, I loved every day of my job. In my 21 years of government service prior to Tripoli, I earned a reputation for being an innovative policymaker who got the job done. I was promoted quickly and received numerous awards. People who worked for me rated my leadership and management skills highly. I have 2 master's degrees from the University of Michigan in applied economics and modern Near Eastern and North African studies. Whoa. I have served my country extensively in the Mideast. Besides Libya, I served in Afghanistan, Bahrain, Yemen, Syria, and the Gambia. I speak fluent Arabic. In Bahrain, my Shia opposition contacts gave me advance warning of impending attacks on our embassy and anti-American demonstrations, allowing us to prepare and avoid injuries to staff. I learned that knowledge of local conditions and strong connections with the local population are as important as the strength and height of walls. One reason I am here is because I have pledged to the Foreign Service as part of my campaign to be State Vice President of the American Foreign Service Association that none of us should ever again experience what we went through in Tripoli and Benghazi on 9/11/2012. After I arrived in Tripoli as Deputy Chief of Mission on July 31st, 2012, I fast became known as the Ambassador's Bulldog because of my decisive management style. In the days immediately after the Benghazi attack, the President and Secretary of State praised my performance over the telephone. President Obama wrote Libyan President Magariaf expressing confidence in my abilities. Deputy Secretary Burns and General Ham told me how much they appreciated how I handled the night of the assault and its aftermath. I received written notes of commendation from Undersecretary Wendy Sherman and from Executive Secretary Stephen Mull. Incoming Charge Larry Pope told me personally that my performance was near heroic. In February 1991, I swore an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States. I'm here today to honor that oath. I look forward to answering your questions fully and truthfully. Thank you very much.
So that's his opening statement. This is Gregory Hicks. He was number 2 in Libya, and then when the ambassador was killed, he became number 1.
He was in Tripoli at the time of the Benghazi
in Tripoli
attack.
at the time of the attack. Here's a guy who, they keep saying politicizing. If this was a whole political scheme to undermine the Democrats and try to win the next election, he wouldn't be there.
And I think that's why he laid out his resume. And I think that was very smart for him to do.
Yeah, no, and as you can see, he's been in politics his whole life. He has the history, he has the background, but he absolutely, his last statement on 1991, I took the oath to defend and uphold the Constitution, and that's why I'm here today. I look forward to answering your questions. That, to me, says exactly why all of them were there. That really brings to the forefront that this isn't for political gain. This has nothing to do with politics. This has to do with something went bad, intelligence was missed, there was an attack, people died, and then our administration was not truthful about what happened.
I don't think intelligence was missed.
I would concur with Clint.
Okay.
He said right there in his statement that he received intelligence.
From Bahrain.
Yeah.
He said from Bahrain.
Bahrain. You're right. I apologize. So intelligence was ignored. Would that be the better way of putting it?
Or was I don't even know if they ignored it because they had to have taken it into consideration in order to forge their scheme. Correct?
Yeah. So that's the guy who's number 2 in all of Libya, and he's here willingly, giving his testimony. And he gave some amazing testimony as time went on, and really kind of gave you the insight as to what happened, how things went. He was the last person.
He laid it out. He laid it out in 4 phases.
Yep.
As the crisis unfolded.
And he was the last person to talk to Ambassador Stevens.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the one where the ambassador called him and said, we're under attack. So that sets up, I think, this entire hearing and the purpose of this entire hearing. And that's a pretty in-depth person. It's not some lackey security guard that was at the front saying, hey, you know what? I'm just here. This guy's whole career has been the politics. He's still there. He's been part of the diplomatic mission, and he wants to do the right thing. And he does, as we go on later. So
I don't know. He's not a politician. It's kind of like military. They serve whoever.
Right.
But what do you think the purpose of the hearing was, Sean?
I think the purpose of the hearing today was to actually get some answers from some people that were there, and a lot of stuff that maybe was being stonewalled from information that the administration wouldn't let go.
I think it's to set up impeachment against the president. That's what I think.
Well, I think that's the end goal, but I think this is that's where they're starting at right now, is to build that case, and you have to build it. And I think that's what
they got a lot of building to do because President Obama's name didn't come up very much at all today.
It was all
Hillary.
It was,
yeah, and that's why I think Hillary's going to come out and say, "Whoa, now hold on, guys."
But she would have to come out, because if the president was directing everything through Hillary and Hillary was the point of contact, it makes perfect sense that everybody in the hearing would be saying Hillary, 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 and not President Obama. Because you see what I'm saying? If she's the point of contact, if she's the one dealing with the president and then she's giving the orders down, it would make sense that they're saying they were told by Hillary or Hillary this, that, or the other thing, and not Obama. So it would take Hillary or her number two, Beth, whatever her name is, somebody who would be in the know at the State Department to say, yes, Hillary, Secretary of State Clinton was acting, was in direct contact with the president who was giving her orders. But I think that's at a level above where the three who testified today were Gregory Hicks, Mark Thompson, and Eric Nordstrom.
Yeah, in a nutshell, today's testimony simply was, what you guys heard on TV by Ambassador Rice, that's not what happened, and that's not what we told them.
Yeah, and I think it was that, but I also think it was the intel was there and available for them, and help wasn't sent. So I think it was a combination of those three things. But now it goes up to Hillary, it seems, and I think that obviously there's more investigation that needs to be done to determine if it goes above that, or what can be proved at a level above that.
I just want to interject here.
Yes, sir.
The matter at hand, I think, is a very, very simplistic one, and that was to show that there was a cover-up.
Mm-hmm.
But we already knew that.
Well, we knew that, but the rest of the media was not reporting it that way. We know now that there were State Department officials who were intimidated. Okay, that has to be reported across all channels. So there's now the establishment of a cover-up in the State Department. Now the next phase of this is, why do you cover up at the State Department when the military should have been involved in rescuing the ambassador? And so it starts to questioning that Democrats have been trying so hard to stop people from doing, by keeping it off the channels, keeping it out of the press, keeping such information away from people. People don't question it. They keep it out of their mindset. Now questions are beginning to come up. And I believe if you listen to Elijah Cummings, he set up the perfect storm, that you have to present proof that the military could have made it from Italy to Tripoli in enough time to have saved them. If you present that,
because the military was located in Tripoli.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But they're going on the report, the APD report, that says that they were looking for help from Italy. If they can prove that they could have had military help from Tripoli, then that messes up the entire claim altogether that help and support could not have been sent there. And now you have to establish whether there was malicious intent, which would be treason, or whether this was incompetent.
Well,
that goes to the door of the president.
And I think a couple things here on that. Whether it's incompetence or whether it's willful, you still have failure to defend American soil via the attack on the embassy. I think the other issue is this: although the president's name did not come up specifically, he spoke the next day in the Rose Garden and talked about a video, and then he continued to speak about a video which we all know now is false. And even, what was it, a couple weeks, 10 days after the fact, in addressing, what was it, the UN or something? I don't even pay attention to those people. But he talks about, the UN, I think, right? He's talking about a video. So even if you could say, and I don't believe this for 1 second, so don't get me wrong here, but even if Hillary did this all by her little lonesome, and the president knew absolutely nothing, he went on from the day after until up to approximately 2 weeks later, giving false talking points to the American people. And as such, he has violated the public trust, in my opinion, And as a result of losing the public trust or violating that public trust, he's unfit to hold office if you're talking about something that big. So even without having a direct link to him making any calls or failing to make a call or directing Secretary of State to do whatever or directing SecDef to stand down, whatever the case is, you still have the president deliberately misleading the American people, because there is no way from the day after until about 2 weeks out when he's giving these false talking points that he did not have that intel. There's no way.
He knew before he was wheeled up from Vegas.
The 800-pound gorilla in the room is this. Is the first black president of the United States incompetent or malicious enough to have killed 4 people?
Well,
no one else is saying it that way.
And either way,
you're right. And I don't think that the president would deliberately allow 4 Americans to die. I don't. I have a hard time believing that any president would do that. I think that it is incompetence, and even if it's incompetence to the point of failing to recognize that his inaction could result in the death of Americans, because he is such a political. I mean, gosh, look what he did prior to becoming a senator, and a senator for a very short period of time before becoming president at that. He was a community organizer. So his playing politics, I really believe that he made the decisions he made for political reasons. He was up against an election, and that I don't think he maliciously wanted more Americans to die. He made political decisions, and as a result, more Americans died. I'm not saying that's right or that's any better. In some ways, I almost think that's worse, to have somebody incompetent in there that has no idea what's going on. But that seems to me the most reasonable.
Well, I say it all the time. Would you want to get on an airplane with somebody who's incompetent as the pilot? Probably not. You know what I mean? I mean, he's supposed to be competent. He's the leader.
The guy may barrel roll it because he's malicious and wants to make everybody puke.
Yeah, but if he is incompetent as president and commander in chief, then he was incompetent in the selection of the person that he picked as his representative to the world. And she was incompetent in handling her duties. There was dereliction of duty.
I don't think
where we have to find
her
out.
was incompetence, though. When it comes to her, she was playing politics.
I think it was politics also.
She was playing politics. She knew what listen, everyone in that inner circle that night knew what the answer was. And they came up with this idea, hey, look, you know what? We're going to blame this wingnut filmmaker about who made this movie, and everyone will believe that. It's so simple. Why would it not? And it's almost, it's almost a little bit degrading to the Muslims, because they're like, you know what, the Muslims will believe this. Of course, this guy made it. Everyone knows how religious that Muslim people can be. This guy made a derogatory video about the Prophet Muhammad. So they're all going to get fired up and they'd protest our country. That makes perfectly good sense. Let's go to it. It's almost.
Can I tell you what's going to be the problem?
The Muslims were laughing their ass off.
Yeah, they are. They are indeed. We're a common joke in most Muslim households. But the problem is this: 3 days earlier, he rescued the Israeli embassy officials from their embassy in Cairo.
Yeah.
And what was being reported by the Israelis is that this is a breakout going around in each of the places, and that is a terrorist breakout. So they knew beforehand what was happening around northern Africa. That Al-Qaeda was breaking out in its own little denominational groupings. It had nothing to do with a video. So the question becomes, when you know that you have failed at your job, and you have promised the American people that nothing else would ever happen, you either show proof of that right before an election, or decidedly you knew this stuff was going on and you absolutely did nothing. So one way or the other, the most beloved president has to answer the question, or we have to answer the question about the most beloved president. Was he incompetent enough to put the lives of 4 American citizens at risk, or was there some intent to cover his gluteus maximus and not bring any attention to the loss of their lives?
No, I want to make
The answer to that is both.
Yeah, I want to make something clear. I don't believe that he maliciously intended to kill Americans. So if that's what we're talking about, malicious intent, I don't believe he maliciously intended to kill Americans. I don't believe that about the president.
No, I can't believe that either.
Yeah. Do I believe that he played politics to cover his ass? Yes. Yeah. And that may be malicious, but I categorize that as incompetence. If you're playing politics because he has a screwed up vision of the world. We know that. We know that his foreign policy is based on a fairy tale. We know that it doesn't work. Yet he genuinely believes this stuff, just like he genuinely believes in Marxist socialist theory. And as a result of that, I call that incompetence, because he has such a skewed vision of the world to where maybe he thinks he's doing the right thing in his little piece of the world, but he's not. So when I say I don't believe he's malicious, I don't believe he's out to kill Americans. I believe he's incompetent to the set. He's so set and wrapped up in his little view of what the world is or should be that it's cost American lives.
Well, and
he's out of his league.
Yeah, absolutely, he's out.
But do you see what the problem is with this? We have
I
to
don't see a problem with it at all.
This is what I'm saying. There are Democrats who are involved here who are beginning to see, wait a minute, this stuff is beginning to smell.
Oh, yeah.
And quite frankly, if I continue supporting him, then I'm just about as incompetent and errorful as he is. How do I explain that back home to people? How do I explain that back home?
Colbert's sister down in South Carolina ran as far away from Obama as she could.
Yeah, had to. Yeah. Absolutely had to. And we got to go to a quick break here real quick, but my last statement on this is I don't think his actions leading into it was malicious, but I think immediately his covering up of it, the lies, I think that was absolutely malicious. He did everything he could to CYA. So that's exactly what I thought was going to happen. And we're going to take a break. We're going to pick this up on the other side anyhow. 347-205-9399. Mr. E was on the line, and I don't know where he went, so call back in. We'll be back in a minute with Sackheads Radio.
Hey, if you care about what's going on in the world, you cannot afford to miss my show. Hi, this is Andrea Kaye, your host of The Andrea Kaye Show. It's not always about the money. Okay, it is always about the money, but it's also about politics, pop culture, and you. The only thing street about this show is the smarts. There's a reason they call me Dynamite in a Dress, and you'll find out why when you listen Tuesday mornings at 10 on Financial News and Talk.
Hello, I'm Paul, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is my professor, Dr. Larry Arnn, on the separation of church and state.
America's founders believed in the separation of church and state, in that the country was not to have an official religion or an official sect. But that did not mean that government was to be hostile to religion, or even indifferent to religion, as many today argue. In fact, America's founding document, the Declaration of Independence, includes both a reference to God as the author of the laws of nature and a confident assertion that human beings are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. Far from being hostile or indifferent to religion, America's founders understood the theology of the Declaration to be an essential part of the education of citizens.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.org.
How you doing? John Grant here. When I'm not slaving over a hot microphone on the 405radio.com Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, I check out Sean and Clint here at Sackheads Radio. We all appreciate the best political bloggers, writers, and commentators. We either get them on our shows or we make fun of them, as it should be. So check us out live Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern or forever on the podcasts on the 405radio.com.
3, 2, 1.
Hey, this is Sackhead Clint. I want to take this opportunity to thank all the wingnut leaders throughout the world, to give our men and women of the armed forces a job, as well as all the anarchists, terrorists, and Occupy folks that give our men and women in uniform on the home front, firefighters, law enforcement personnel, and first responders, job security here in the States as well. So thank all you wingnuts out there. This is Sackhead Clint saying have a good day.
Now back to Clint and Sean on Sackheads Radio, radiating elegancy and quality.
And we are back from the break. Phone number is 347-205-9399. I am Sean. That is Clint. Joining us live is Ken from the Exceptional Conservative Show, Rooster from ConservativeOutcry.net. Sacco is off to our left doing our sound, and we are discussing the Benghazi hearings.
Which is weird because the soundboard is actually on the right. So what is it he's actually doing?
He has the best job here.
He does,
really does,
right?
Other than dealing with two incompetent morons that have no idea what they're doing.
But Ken and Rooster don't call in every night.
Sacco, you don't have to take this. Hopefully you get a union.
Oh, no, we don't hire unions.
Sacco actually asked who I was.
Yeah, well, we keep trying to train him. We keep saying if it's really deep breathing and sounds very angry, it's probably Rooster.
Oh, I'm never angry.
So we have a couple clips that I want to get to, and the first one is going to be, Representative Cowdy talking to Hicks, and this is the first set of questioning from Hicks to Cowdy, and it's actually, just listen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To the families of the victims, it's been 8 months. And I know that there are those who have said that's a long time ago. But the good news is there is no statute of limitations when it comes to finding out the truth, particularly for those who have served and sacrificed and died under our flags. So, Mr. Hicks, let's find out the truth. The president of Libya responded to the attack and labeled it an attack by Islamic extremists, possibly with terror links, correct?
Yes, sir.
So hours after our ambassador and 3 others are killed in Benghazi, the president of Libya says it was an attack with possible terror links, correct?
Yes, sir, that's what I recall.
Did the president of Libya ever mention a spontaneous protest related to a video?
No, sir.
When Ambassador Stevens talked to you, perhaps minutes before he died, as a dying declaration, what precisely did he say to you?
He said, Greg, we're under attack.
Would a highly decorated career diplomat have told you or Washington had there been a demonstration outside his facility that day?
Yes, sir, he would have.
Did he mention one word about a protest or a demonstration?
No, sir, he did not.
So fast forward, Mr. Hicks, to the Sunday talk shows and Ambassador Susan Rice. She blamed this attack on a video. In fact, she did it 5 different times. What was your reaction to that?
I was stunned. My jaw dropped. And I was embarrassed.
Did she talk to you before she went on the 5 Sunday talk shows?
No, sir.
You were the highest ranking official in Libya at the time, correct?
Yes, sir.
And she did not bother to have a conversation with you before she went on national television?
No, sir.
So Ambassador Rice directly contradicts the evidence on the ground in Libya. She directly contradicts the president of Libya. She directly contradicts the last statement uttered by Ambassador Stevens.
So it's Representative Trey Cowdy from South Carolina. Lays it out. I mean, it doesn't get any more obvious than that. And, of course, he's speaking with Gregory Hicks, who's number 2 in Libya and is testifying on his own accord before this committee. I don't understand how that could be any more clear. And I agree with Mary in our chat room. I love Trey Cowdy, too. I think he's not afraid, and he seems pretty honest about everything he does, so that's kind of huge. Well, you would think, and I'll start with you, Clint, wouldn't you think that Susan Rice would have access after this?
She's going to talk about it on 5 network talk shows. She's going to push the administration's response to this. Wouldn't you think she'd have access to even have a phone conversation with Mr. Hicks if she wanted?
Yes.
It would make sense. It makes sense to me. Hey, you're going to get it right from the horse's mouth, so to speak.
It would make sense, but I could also see where she's given a memo saying, hey, you may not be caught up on everything, but this is what we know right now.
Right.
She was a minion.
Mm-hmm.
She was a pawn,
mm-hmm.
and she was sent out to get grilled, basically,
to save the election.
To save the election, and then she was offered a nice cushy spot, which didn't really pan out for her.
Aww. So
she
this
was the perfect minion because she had nothing to do with Benghazi. She was the representative to the United Nations. She would not have even been involved in these discussions in the first place. Not the night it happened.
That's something too that I thought that was amazing. That all of a sudden she's being put out on national TV at these 5 talk shows. She's the ambassador to the UN. I mean, I understand that this is an international incident, so to speak, but why is she the person out there and not, say, the president, the vice president, secretary? There are other people that I thought would have been quicker to be put on television to discuss this that were not. And I think they put her out there because she had big political aspirations. They pretty much tapped her on the shoulder and said, hey, you get to play a card, and then we'll take care of you further down the line. Again, as Clint pointed out, didn't happen. But there's no other reason.
They tried. So they say, sorry, it didn't work out.
Well, they went the soft route. They said, we're going to have a pretty female who's intelligent, well-spoken, an ambassador to the UN. We're going to put her on these 5 talk shows because she's believable. Had nothing to do with who she was.
Mm-hmm.
It had to do with what she could provide. Ken, am I wrong on this?
No, I don't think you're wrong on that. I just want to add to the fact that they were playing Susan Rice up as the quintessential replacement for Secretary of State Hillary Clinton.
Mm-hmm.
And Hillary kiboshed that completely. Or at least the Clinton Group, LLC, kiboshed that completely about putting her out there on those talk shows on Sunday morning. And I must say that apparently there was no affinity between Rice and Clinton. And so she just seemed like a affable type of person that you would throw out there. Really, and forgive me for going back to competence, but on display was our foreign policy team after 9/11. And I have never seen a more incompetent group of oafs put together since possibly the Three Stooges.
Hey, you know what, though? Here's something you got to keep in mind. The Three Stooges were meticulous and orchestrated.
And they were. They were all Jews.
They were. But they're also...
so they would not be welcome in the Obama administration.
Hey, hang on. Was that racist or funny?
I'm going to have to go truth on that.
Okay.
Because it was, in fact, truthful.
All right. One thing I want to bring up, he talked about that the Libyan president came out and said, hey, this was an attack, right, an orchestrated attack. And yet the United States came out afterwards and said, no, it was because of a video. Do you think that the Libyan president lost face after that?
No.
You don't think so? You don't think that he says, really,
no, because
guys,
half the people in Libya participated in the attack. They knew he was right.
I'm talking to the rest of the world, though, because he says, hey, you know what? This is what it is. I'm going to call it. And now America is gonna basically contradict me and make me look bad. Do you think that had anything to do with some of the hang up that the FBI had in getting access to the crime scene and so forth?
Yeah, I do. You didn't need the FBI anyway. We had CNN.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But Libya refused to secure the scene for us, even, and held our FBI guys for what? How many days?
No. Libya couldn't secure the scene.
Yeah, that's what I understood when all that went down.
I'm sure they had nobody there who could secure that scene, but they were still, the FBI guys were stuck in Tripoli for almost 2 weeks, right? Just over 2 weeks.
Well, but I also wonder too, though, is after he came out and said, because he went on, what was it, ABC or CBS, and said this was an attack. We knew it right away. Our intelligence passed it along to them, and it's almost like we do with a lot of these nations. The people in the press automatically discount leaders from certain nations and play them off as buffoons and not able to. They probably have intelligence communities. They probably have some sort of idea. Most importantly, they have people there to say, hey, this was an attack. So they may not have the investigative ability, but they have eyewitnesses.
Or one of the attackers came home and said, hey, Dad, we just hit the consulate.
Well, that could very well be that too. But after he went out and said that, this administration said, hey, if you want money to rebuild, you'll shut your mouth. And money talks over it.
Listen.
What money? We don't have any money.
Yeah, but we give it to them anyways. Look at Egypt.
Look, you know, I see the word.
Yeah.
I see the word, and we've used it a lot tonight. I see the word racist in the chat room. We've talked about it a lot. You know, we need to get past this first black president thing. Number one, he's not the first.
What kind of hate-monger are you?
Clinton was the first black president. We all
William
know that.
Jefferson.
Now, and just to go on record, I come from a military background, and the military is the only one that's ever got this right. There's only two colors in the military: dark green and light green.
Yeah.
And we need to start thinking that way. Now Hicks, when he testified, he had amazing credentials. But once that embassy came under attack, he's out of his league as well. It's up to the special operators, and it's up to the people that we pay to protect them to do their jobs. Now, somebody told them not to do it.
And that brings up a good point, because Gregory Hicks brought up a name, Lieutenant Colonel Gibson.
Well, Lieutenant Colonel Gibson is the one that screamed and yelled when his team was cut from 8 to 4.
And he's also the one that supposedly had people ready to go and was told to stand down.
Yeah, and quite frankly, if I were him, I'd have gone anyway.
So, who is Lieutenant Colonel Gibson? I want to hear from him.
Yeah,
actually, I understand he's not even regular Army. I think he's part of a reserve component.
Huh.
Yeah, okay. I still want to hear from him.
Yeah, we need to bring him in and have a discussion. Hey, I'm going to add a fifth voice because it's not confusing enough. But Mr. Ree, who we've had on the phone a couple times before, is joining us right now. Mr. Ree, how are you, sir?
All right. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing well. All right, so now we're going to have a hard time distinguishing bass voices. Mr.
Yeah,
Ree,
I guess so, huh? Yeah.
So, Mr. Ree, you had a disagreement earlier that you wanted to bring up. Is that what you wanted to discuss? I'm not going false.
Yeah, I mean, you were talking earlier about whether or not Obama was incompetent or malicious, and I'm of the opinion, and I know that this is not a very popular one because I never hear it, that he is malicious, and I believe that pretty much everything that he does is in the furtherance of trying to destroy this country. That may be radical, that may be extremist according to some people, but that's what I believe.
Destroy or convert?
I think maybe rebuild. I think I agree that he is in the process of attempting to dismantle our constitutional republic, or at least further dismantle it. I believe the healthcare bill was about erecting a structure to have it in place for when the system collapses, a new one is ready to take over, and to move America from a constitutional republic, from a democracy that's even evolved into, which we're not supposed to be, into a administrative, progressive, Marxist state. I agree that is his goal. However, I don't believe that he purposefully would have American lives killed or terminated.
And that'll never happen because I'm part of the 29%.
Let me just clarify. I don't think that he is looking for ways to, well, I was going to say I don't think he's looking for ways to kill Americans, but
I think
maybe he is. I don't know. But
he exploited it.
Neither was Jody Iris. So, I'm sorry. I apologize.
But I think I think given that opportunity to step in and help Americans, he had better things to do, like the slot machines in Vegas.
Well, and I've been to Vegas, and it's a pretty awesome city. But I'm not the smartest man on the face of the planet. I can tell you that that's an easy decision.
Well, hang on a second. Was Sirens?
Well, you're also not the president of the United States.
Not yet.
But was Sirens?
Sirens was playing.
What was the showtime for Sirens that night? Because that's kind of a big deal.
I believe it was a 10:35 showtime. So
okay.
You never know.
There we go.
You never know. I will agree with Mr. E on that. I think that he may not intentionally make things happen.
And that's what I would call malicious. That's why when I say he's not malicious, that's why I say that.
He certainly takes advantage and exploits, and I think it goes into maliciousness down the line, but I don't think his actual intent starts with
killing Americans
or anything like that.
Well, I do absolutely agree that he wants to destroy America.
Even though the Democrats during Katrina were convinced that Bush was trying to kill certain parts of this country, I don't believe that's the case with this president.
Bush didn't stockpile.
Well, let me introduce something for you, men.
I had to sound kind of deep with all you guys around.
Who is this?
Mr. E?
This is Ken.
Ken.
No, there's a woman.
Talking sticks.
There's a woman on the line.
No, that was not a woman on the line. That was Ken. Believe it or not.
No.
Okay,
I'm the
I
only
was going
person
to
in
ask
the choir
about
that can
food.
sing all 4 octaves. Listen,
Ken,
in all seriousness, when I use the term malicious, and I know that that's an affront to many people, but I'm a very provocative kind of person. But when you look at the terms for murder, okay, incompetence, which leads to death, is murder. And the bottom line is, whether it was your intent, your original intent, or not, the end result was that 4 people died.
Right.
Now,
I'm
sorry, let me just finish this real quick. If you go to bed and tell your Joint Chiefs of Staff and your Secretary of Defense at 5 p.m., you guys handle it, and you don't talk about it ever again with those people, you tell me what it is.
Well, it's not murder, because I think murder does require intent. Manslaughter comes to mind.
There you go.
But not murder. And, you know what I think about Obama? Honestly, all the spin aside, he lacks leadership skills.
Yes.
And in the military we have a course that you have to go through, and you can't become a non-commissioned officer without going through the primary leadership development course, and they teach you how to lead. And by the way, just to plug myself, I was the honor grad at my course. But
here we go.
Yeah, you're taught to make a decision, and not to be afraid to make a decision, whether it's right or wrong. Just make the decision and stick to it. You can deal with the repercussions later. This president doesn't do that. What this president does is he looks at what the possible repercussions will be before he makes a decision.
Everything's political.
And then bases his decision on that. And that is not presidential.
Well, I don't think
That's not presidential for a black man or a white man, I might add. By the way, Ken, I was offended when you used the word gorilla and first black president in the same sentence earlier.
Forgive me. Oh, my God. I'll tell the guys at the KKK meeting tomorrow. We can't use that.
And for the record, Ken, you know that I'm joking, because when you know that I grew up in Eastover.
Exactly. And that's all that counts. Well, I don't care if it's a male, female, black. I don't care. When you're a president, you're supposed to be a leader. And unfortunately, he didn't learn that at community organizing school on how to be a leader and stand by. And you know what? We've said this before. If he's made certain decisions and stood by them, and at least I could give him credit for that. But he has gone back on so many different things. All he wants to do is appease, just like he does on our foreign policy. He appeases everybody.
Name one time he appeased somebody.
Mexico last week.
Oh, yeah, never mind. Oh, with Phil Calder. Phil Calder.
Yeah, with Phil Calder.
Egypt in 2008.
Yeah,
there you go.
We could keep going, but, that's what he does, is he just appeases, and then when he gets caught,
But he pissed off the Brits, though, because they gave him a CD.
He blames...
Oh, and also the bus.
And the bus of Winston Churchill.
Filled with...
No,
I'm not going to make the joke.
All right. But that's been his forte, if you will. His strong point is being weak, and his leadership skill is to not make any sort of decision and stand by it. And then when it does fall apart, like in this case, he tried to blame Hillary. Whether Hillary was in on it or not, that's what it came down to. So, you know what? The buck stops with me. Most transparent government on the face of the planet. We're going to do this, and it's going to be hope and change. Blah, 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 blah. This isn't all my fault. They won't play with me. They won't work on the budget with me. Hillary was in charge when that happened. She should have got the phone call. We're really sorry you have gun problems, Mexico. That must be our fault. I mean, it doesn't end with this guy. And
but when he's given Osama bin Laden on a silver platter, it's an easy decision.
Yeah, it never ends, and I think that's going to be his legacy, is that he couldn't make a decision. I'd hate to see this guy, if you brought him to a restaurant that had more than 3 things on the menu, you'd never get your meal at night. You know what I mean?
That's why he always orders hamburger, so that way you can't mess up.
And then blames the waiter if he doesn't like it. Well, he's the type of guy who blames the taxi driver.
Notice the war on women here? Susan Rice put right out there to look like a sucker.
Yeah.
Hillary Clinton. War on women. There you go.
Yeah, and
war on women.
Easy. No, I agree with you.
All right, I won't.
And that was that has been brought. I'm really shocked that actually
Susan Rice does have a nice ass, though.
Yeah, yes, she does. She used to be a point guard.
I think you two.
Did you say a porn star?
No.
Can we corroborate that?
I want.
Actually, I've got a picture on my website of Nancy Pelosi dressed as a hooker.
I do remember that as well.
Yeah, I'm sure it was a costume.
Yeah.
I can't superimpose her head on.
And my Photoshop was not involved in that at all.
I love Pistol Grip. She's my favorite. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take our last break. We still have a couple more clips to talk about, and maybe bring up the kidnapping in Cleveland.
No, I don't think we're gonna have time.
All right, we'll play the clips. We're gonna do that.
With this group? Are you kidding me?
I know, we're never even gonna get through the clips, but we will try to when we come back in a minute here.
Susan Rice loves you long time.
Hey, if you care about what's going on in the world, you cannot afford to miss my show. Hi, this is Andrea Kaye, your host of The Andrea Kaye Show. It's not always about the money. Okay, it is always about the money, but it's also about politics, pop culture, and you. The only thing street about this show is the smarts. There's a reason they call me Dynamite in a Dress, and you'll find out why when you listen Tuesday mornings at 10 on Financial News and Talk.
Hello, I'm Paul, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is my professor, Dr. Larry Arnn, on the separation of church and state.
America's founders believed in the separation of church and state, in that the country was not to have an official religion or an official sect. But that did not mean that government was to be hostile to religion, or even indifferent to religion, as many today argue. In fact, America's founding document, the Declaration of Independence, includes both a reference to God as the author of the laws of nature and a confident assertion that human beings are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. Far from being hostile or indifferent to religion, America's founders understood the theology of the Declaration to be an essential part of the education of citizens.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.org.
How you doing? John Grant here. When I'm not slaving over a hot microphone on the 405radio.com Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, I check out Sean and Clint here at Sackheads Radio. We all appreciate the best political bloggers, writers, and commentators. We either get them on our shows or we make fun of them, as it should be. So check us out live Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern or forever on the podcasts on the 405radio.com.
3, 2, 1.
Hey, this is Sackhead Clint. I want to take this opportunity to thank all the wingnut leaders throughout the world to give our men and women of the armed forces a job, as well as all the anarchists, terrorists, and Occupy folks that give our men and women in uniform on the home front, firefighters, law enforcement personnel, and first responders, job security here in the States as well. So thank all you wingnuts out there. This is Sackhead Clint saying have a good day.
Now back to Clint and Sean on Sackheads Radio, radiating elegancy and quality.
All right, now that we've taken our collective sigh, and Clint is pouring himself a drink, if you will.
Actually, it's Capri Sun.
Come on, I was trying to be cool.
Yeah, but I'm a share bear.
So,
well, I'd like to quickly address Ken's impersonation of Susan Rice as a Vietnamese hooker.
No. We were going to let that happen at the break and just go away.
No. If I remember the movie correctly, they were afraid of the brothers because what were the words? Tubuku?
Tubuku. Yeah, that was a great movie too. That was an awesome movie. So now I have to go back into Benghazi. So Trey Cowdy's talking to Gregory Hicks as they go on. They bring up the email from Beth Jones, and this is a long clip, but you have to listen to the whole thing.
Mr. Hicks, who is Beth Jones?
Beth Jones is the Acting Assistant Secretary for Near Eastern Affairs at the State Department.
I want to read an excerpt from an email she sent, and you were copied on it. And by the way, Mr. Chairman, for our colleagues who like to trumpet bipartisanship, this would be a wonderful opportunity to demonstrate it. Some of these emails, even though they're not classified, have not been released, Mr. Chairman, including the one that I'm going to read from. So for my colleagues who trumpet bipartisanship, this would be a wonderful time to prove it. This is from Ms. Jones to you, to counsel for Hillary Clinton, to Victoria Nuland, to Mr. Kennedy, near as I can tell, to almost everyone in the State Department, and I'm going to read from it. I spoke to the Libyan ambassador and emphasized the importance of Libyan leaders continuing to make strong statements. By the way, Mr. Hicks, this email was sent on September the 12th, the day after Benghazi, and several days before Ambassador Rice's television appearance. And I'll continue. When he said his government suspected that former Gaddafi regime elements carried out the attacks, I told him that the group that conducted the attacks, Ansar al-Sharia, is affiliated with Islamic terrorists. Let me say that again, Mr. Hicks. She told him, the State Department, on September the 12th, days before our ambassador went on national television, is telling the ambassador to Libya, the group that conducted the attacks, Ansar al-Sharia, is affiliated with Islamic terrorists. Mr. Hicks, I want to know two things. Number one, why in the world would Susan Rice go on 5 Sunday talk shows and perpetuate a demonstrably false narrative? And secondarily, what impact did it have on the ground in Benghazi, the fact that she contradicted the president of Libya?
As to the first question, I cannot provide an answer, but perhaps you should ask Ambassador Rice.
I would love the opportunity to do just that.
As to the second question, at the time we were trying to get the FBI to Benghazi to begin its investigation. And that talk show actually provided an opportunity to make that happen. Afterwards, we encountered bureaucratic resistance for a long period from the Libyans. The Libyan government at this time is not very deep. President, Prime Minister, Deputy Prime Ministers, ministers, all capable people. Some vice ministers as well. And it took us an additional my math's not very fast these days, maybe 18 days to get the FBI team to Benghazi.
So the crime scene was unsecured for 18 days?
Yes, sir.
Witnesses were not interviewed?
Would the gentleman would please finish up? We're going to try and move along.
Yes, I will move on. We will finish this if there is a second round. Thank you, Mr.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
Sorry, that was weird. He wasn't part of the hearings.
No, that was a clip from before.
That was something totally different, and I apologize for that.
Unless he said that in a private meeting or...
So...
You know what? It sounded like
You
someone
would
was
be
fighting
seen that
over the
clip.
last Sunny D.
Rooster, go.
You NBC'd that clip.
What? I don't know what you're talking about. So long and short, here's Beth Jones, who is like Hillary's number 2, who sends an email out.
Hillary's number 2.
No, not
like the.
No. It's like her second,
floater,
her right hand person.
Got
if
it.
you will.
Okay.
Who
Hillary's
sends
too
this
old
email
for a floater.
out on the 12th of September.
You know,
and
in the same, in retrospect,
identifies.
Do you really want to be called the number 2 and a floater? I don't know.
But this Beth Jones identifies an al-Sharia, saying they're part of terrorism, and this is the day after the attack, before Rice went on the air. So it continues, it goes deeper, and this is an email that hasn't been quote unquote released until now, really.
Well, because it's classified. Oh no, it's not. Never mind. Yeah, he said it's that's so it should be. Nah, never mind. Forget I said anything.
Major props to Cowdy for actually throwing that little dig. To my friends that talk about bipartisanism, this might be a good time to start. I just thought that was outstanding. I really like him. I hope nothing ever comes up because I dig that guy a lot. I like the fact that he's not afraid. He goes out, and he really hits hard. And he's not afraid. He's not afraid to be the jerk and ask a question that's hard. You know, we say it. Ken brought it up earlier. You know, I'm going to be the one to ask the question. But he is the one who's definitely in charge when it comes to asking the hard questions. And I think he's the right person. The questions he asks is really good. And how he phrases them, his timing on it, he knows how to get to the root of the issue. And I give him major credit for that. I thought he was outstanding all day today.
I would pay $1 million to hear him stand up in the House and say, "You might be a redneck if."
You know what though, Rooster? I interviewed on less important things, and he seems to have a really good sense of humor. He might do that for free. So
now, Sean, before you go to bed tonight, I want you to think about what was said on the show tonight. Think about what went on in the chat room tonight, and then think about my plug for the show tomorrow and what the title might be.
I can't wait to hear it. But I thought
and if you don't read my blog, I like to play with my titles. It piques people's interest.
Yes, just the title.
I'm thinking now.
Plays titles by
Susan
himself.
Rice as a
Love you long
Vietnamese
time.
hooker. Yeah. You know what, Ken? That's it. Susan Rice, love you long time. That will be the title of my post tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And I'll give you props for that.
Give full credit to Ken.
I do 2 shows a night with Sackhead's ass.
But I just thought that was even more, and I know it's kind of beating the dead horse sometimes, but you know the folks on the left and the ones who are defending the administration say, well, you have no proof. This is all just political gain. Why are you bringing this up? Well, because you keep looking at all the things that they've buried and intentionally made go away, and it shows you what their narrative is, and you have to keep, just like I'm sure the prosecution did in the Arias trial, you have to keep compounding your evidence and prove beyond a reasonable doubt to these folks that, yes, they were involved in what is obviously a cover-up. They intentionally misled the nation, and there has to be consequences for that. You can't just have Carney go out there and say this is old news. This is not old news, and this needs to be compounded. People need to hear this. That's just my personal opinion on it, but it can't go away, especially for the guy that touts transparency and ran on transparency, and this will be the most transparent. He said transparent so many times, it's ridiculous.
Yes, sir.
Excuse me, Sackhead Clint, I have to say this. Sackhead Sean said something that was very riveting this earlier in tonight's show.
When?
He doesn't normally do that.
That's last year when. I don't remember hearing anything, and if it was, I'm sure it was off of my notepad he read it from.
Hold on, I'm going to write this down.
He was speaking about the establishment, okay, and
don't get me going on the establishment.
Exactly. Actually, I do want to get you going.
You need to read my blog.
I'm going to start reading them, and actually I'm going to put them on my website. I'm RFS them right onto my website.
Well, some of them you may not want to. So, sometimes I attack subjects like boobies, but most of it is political. You'll like the Mark Sanford one.
Well, listen, as long as there are not three of them, we're fine. Anyway,
I want to know what I said.
But in regards to the establishment issue, the biggest threat to America is not Barack Obama. It's Boehner and the establishment, because Trey Gowdy and Chaffetz and many of the others represent a standard by which they will be held accountable for in the next election.
Oh, yeah.
Should anyone follow behind, they will be criticized for attempting to expand the federal government. They will be criticized for attempting to do cover-ups and things of that nature. They will be watched more shortly by conservatives than by the establishment.
I agree. I don't remember saying that.
You're my brother from another mother. I mean, I've said that many times on my blog.
Great job, Sean.
Well, it's one of those things where they really are bringing to the forefront of what, I'm sure a lot of administrations have had their little hidden secrets, as we all know, starting with JFK and beyond, but they're really bringing to the forefront that when it's blatant and obvious, it can't be excused, and this guy shouldn't get a pass, nor should Democrats. And it's, we go after the president because a lot of times he's at the head of it all, but there are Democrats involved in this top to bottom, and one of them is going to be probably the next candidate for their selection for president. So, it needs to be brought out. It needs to be expanded. And you know what? Clinton and I talk about this all the time. If this was a conservative or a Republican president there, we'd be having the same argument right now. And that's something that the Democrats won't ever say. They won't say, well, you know what? Yeah, he screwed up and we're not. I'm wondering if they are going to start getting out from behind him as time rolls on, because they have to save themselves, and that's just as scummy in my opinion. But
yeah,
everybody involved, I don't care what party they're into, top to bottom, that had their hands in this and was involved in the cover-up, needs to be held accountable, because they are supposed to be the leaders of this nation. And what they're proving is that they can get away with stuff that the average person can't, which is, to me, totally unacceptable.
Well, I saw headlines today on CNN. I saw a headline on CBS, and I saw a headline on NBC that said security told to stand down. So I'll make a prediction now that by Friday you're going to see a lot more in the media about this, and we may see some Dems coming out saying that we need to. And actually, I thought Elijah Cummings' opening statement today was despicable.
Yeah, it was absolutely atrocious.
But I thought he saved face later on when he actually came out and said, you know what, we need more hearings.
Well,
what else is he going to say at that point? He's got nothing else he can say. These three guys come out and give out their resume and give pretty powerful testimony.
No, they didn't come out, Clint. They presented themselves. There's a difference.
You and I were listening to two completely different hearings then, because I heard that they.
Although the one guy, the bald guy on the left, he may have came out. He kind of looks that way.
That's Eric Nord. That's not okay. That's not okay.
Sure it is.
Oh, it's not. Come on. No, and that's Rooster from ConservativeOutcry.net. Now,
send hate mail there.
Send your hate
we
mail
get
to
enough
them.
to deserve our own. Send that hate mail to him. He basically just said that guy looks like a cocksucker. That's basically what he said. I'm not putting words into his mouth. I'm just reiterating what Rooster meant.
Rooster T-shirts.
Either way. Either way, but the other thing this is doing too is this is bringing out people's attention to mainstream media not covering things because it's not being deemed acceptable by their standards. And I think that's one of those things that I hope goes along with the Democrats who are kind of being outed in this administration. I hope people are starting to realize that those small bloggers, the talk show hosts, the conservative ones like those of us who are on here, and the bloggers like those of us who are on here, right? And the smaller media that didn't let this go away, it's not because we're batshit crazy.
No, we are.
Well, we are.
Listen to this show. Are you kidding me?
That's not the only reason is what I'm
saying.
saying.
But it's the primary reason.
It's one of them.
Okay.
But because this is such a big deal, and if this was any other administration, it would be all over mainstream media.
But this brings us back to, we're talking about Dems coming out and not switching sides, but coming out and getting on board. Look, I think it brings me back to the impeachment discussion.
Yeah.
I think that you may have some Dems in the House that want to save their seat coming up for the election in 2014. That they may actually vote. Look, the Republicans have the majority anyways. They're going to get, if they decided to bring the vote to the floor, they would probably get impeachment charges brought forth. So because they can't defeat them, they may vote with them. However, Obama has that Senate in his pocket. And I don't know that the Republicans will take the Senate in 2014. It's possible. I don't know that they will yet. Things are still kind of shaping up for me to be able to comfortably make that call. But if I think the Dems would say, you know what, I'll go ahead and vote for impeachment because I can't stop it in the House anyways. I'll save my seat, and I'll let the Senate stop it like they did for the Clinton impeachment. And they can worry about fighting for their seats, and the president will probably be safe because the Senate's pretty much in his pocket. What do you?
I don't agree because Woodward and Bernstein impeached Nixon. It wasn't the Senate. It was Woodward and Bernstein, and the media is going to get a hold of this. The media's got a hold of this story tomorrow. Can you picture Jay Carney right now?
Nixon was
he's lying in bed right now in a pool of sweat.
Hey, Nixon,
waiting for tomorrow morning.
Nixon resigned.
I know.
Brought charges, and the Senate never convicted him. Clinton was the last one, and charges were brought in the House, and the Senate failed to convict him. He was found not guilty in the Senate. So the Nixon thing, that argument doesn't hold water because he resigned in lieu of. And I think Obama's too egocentric to resign in lieu of. So I think that if they're thinking politically, that I think the more likely scenario is the Dems in the House would vote to impeach, again, to save their seats, because they can't do anything else, especially if they have more hearings, I would imagine, if they don't decide to do it just on his talking points alone 2 weeks after the fact. But I don't think the Senate has the balls to convict because he is too much in their pocket, and I think the House Dems know that, and so they would be even more willing to vote for impeachment proceedings.
Well, if I had to say, I'd vote for impeachment because I'd want to do a show just like this on Joe Biden's inauguration.
Okay. Sackhead moment. If we do a Joe Biden inaugural show, we all have to be drinking while we do the show.
Exactly.
I'm an old man, guys. I drink old booze now. You know that.
That's okay.
But you'll be drinking. Ken, your comments on Clint's statement.
No, I just want. There are just two things there. First and foremost, there are two people who are lying in bed tonight in a puddle of sweat. Carney being one of them, but also Boehner. Boehner's going to wake up tomorrow morning and look at the rest of the polling and the information that's being brought to the media. And if by Friday Rooster's absolutely correct, which I believe he will be, more and more people are beginning to ask, because this is different from Watergate. 4 people died. More people beginning to ask questions in the media, then the Boehner's going to realize that it wasn't the McCain-Graham media that changed this. It was conservatives like ourselves that changed that. Prince Rebus and the rest of them will have to bow down to the conservatives in the coming elections, because it's people like us that keep the news stories. They will have to bow down to Rush Limbaugh. Can you imagine that? The other thing about this is we have to remember, and we have to always put this into context. This is not Andrew Jackson. This is not, William Jefferson Clinton. This is not Richard Nixon. No one died in those situations.
Right.
In context, people's minds will change when they have a military that comes out, and you've seen the movies, I forget the movie, that short guy belongs to that religious cult did, where he says, you can't handle the truth.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the bottom line is...
A Few Good Men.
Few Good Men.
Yeah, A Few Good Men. Someone's going to have to learn how to handle the truth, and it's called the American public. Their president, on his watch, was not able to keep us safe, and neither was the other person who had the 2 a.m. commercial that said that you would want to call her.
Only if she was president.
One of them did.
She didn't say anything.
Well,
if she was
that
secretary.
actually wasn't Hillary's, though. That came from a while back.
Okay.
Hillary ran that commercial, but she stole it from somebody else.
Yeah. But the bottom line is, America's going to have to wake up and admit, after this largesse and after this drunken stupor with the Obama campaign.
Did you say large ass and
drunken
stupor at the same time?
I was wondering who large ass
I was talking about Michelle.
Excuse
Hopefully
me.
we'll finally get a president who can throw out the first pitch. That's all I'm saying here.
Hey, I'll give him credit. That was the nicest Ephus pitch I've seen in years.
I thought he said who could throw out the full pitch, meaning kick her out of the White House.
Now, if he slides out of this one, if he gets a pass on this one, and let's say the media all descends on Cleveland, I'm going to proclaim Barack Obama as the luckiest man alive, and I will bankroll his trip to Vegas.
Again, Rooster from conservativeoutside.net. Make sure you send your bills payable to...
No, well, hold on. How is that hateful?
No.
That was a good, clean joke.
I just wanted to make sure
that was a good one. That was a very good one.
I want to make sure they know where to send the bill, because there's still a chance he can slide out of this.
And I'm not paying for a trip to Vegas.
And I'm not paying for a trip to Vegas when they send me the bill for $500,000 for Air Force One.
No. $500,000? No, because he's going to be staying in the best hotel.
I just meant for Air Force One.
Entourage. Oh, okay. You already pay for Air Force One.
I do on a regular basis, trust me. It's one of those things, too, on top of the media being called out and the administration being called out, and Clint brought up a good point, he's too egotistical to resign. The other reason why they would never let him resign is because that would be admitting failure, and that would hurt them politically down the line. So right now, even through all this, he's going to be a Democrat progressive hero. If he gets impeached, it's only going to make him more of a hero status, and I don't think that should change the decision. On their side, it's going to the progressives are still going to say he was the best thing since sliced bread.
Honestly, I fear the reaction of the misinformed.
That was exactly where I was going. My worry is that the people that aren't paying attention to this,
which is most of them,
who are supporters of his quote-unquote supporters, if this comes down to impeachment or he is forced to resign, the outcome that would actually occur. And it starts to make you wonder why the Department of Homeland Security is starting to save up all those bullets. This could be a reason.
Although the first thing that will occur is I will tweet Tehran at the Real Brother Radio Show.
Clint.
And Ken, I know you know who he is.
Clint?
Yeah. I think I actually would go to Al Sharpton's church. That would be the first thing I would do.
Hold on, Clint, go.
What? I could maybe he'll resign and give Uncle Joe a year in the White House and give him a solid foundation to be able to spend 2 more terms with, or at least run on.
Nah, he will not resign. He will not.
I don't think he will.
That man has nothing in him that would make him resign. He would take it like a man. So he should get rid of it. Never mind.
Well, and that's the other thing too is they can't let Uncle Joe run it. That just wouldn't happen. That would make things worse for them.
That would be so awesome.
I would love to see Uncle Joe for the next 2 years.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
My inaugural party. Who's got the stripper pole? Hey, Joe, take that licorice thong off and get in the sudsy pool. I mean, come on.
Hey, man, I don't know if you know who I am, but I'm kind of a big fucking deal around here. Yeah, I know. I'm Michelle Obama. Remember,
Can you imagine him firing rounds from the Oval Office?
Absolutely. Yeah, I can.
I feel bad for
only
the
2.
service guy that has to bring the bagels in the morning, because every time you knock on the door, he's just going to shoot a shotgun through it. So you have to knock and run. And his aim's probably not good, so you don't know which way to run every time.
I could picture Joe walking down the White House corridor and be like, hey lady, ever see a one-eared elephant? I mean,
do you know who I am? I'm the Vice President of the United States. Yeah, Joe, I'm your wife. Oh, sorry, wrong woman.
You have seen my one-eared elephant.
I was looking for Susan Rice.
Dare me to put something in my mouth. Come on, it's really awesome. I have an idea. Why don't we all go swim in the pool out in front? You mean the reflecting pool, Joe? Yeah, isn't that right across the street? Okay, Joe.
Hey, these sackhead guys are great. Watch, my whole fist. Watch. It was their idea.
So this brings me to my last question of the night, and then we're going to wrap the show up. Should he either be impeached and out or resign, what would we dare Joe Biden to do first as president? Clint, go first.
Okay, I think the president should be impeached. I believe he lost the trust of the American people, in my opinion. And what should we dare Joe Biden to do first?
Yes.
On Inauguration Day, as soon as he's sworn in, he has to unzip his fly and show America a one-eared elephant. That's what I dare him to do.
Ken, I'm going to move right down the roster. Ken, same questions to you, sir.
I think that he will be impeached, and I think that he will not resign, and we will actually see how much ammo Department of Homeland Security actually has. In terms of what I would dare Joe Biden to do, I would dare him to actually write a term paper on the Constitution without looking on someone else's paper.
Does he have to be sober?
Wow. Ken went all highbrow on that one.
I know. Come on, Ken. Have fun with it.
Rooster, same question to you.
Okay. If Obama escapes this one, then I will put him at the same level as Marion Barry, who we refer to as Mayor for Life here in D.C.
Half crack will carry.
And I'll go on Clint's. The first thing that Joe Biden will do is issue a proclamation to his wife to now refer to it as Mr. President.
Little president.
Little president. Little Joe is no longer appropriate. Although it might be, I'm not sure. Nah, he's from Scranton. It's good size.
I agree that.
Welcome to every 7-Eleven.
Have you ever been to a Dunkin' Donuts? I mean, so I think that there will be an impeachment. I would dare Joe Biden to show up in the Borat bikini and hang glide in. That would be what I would dare him to do.
And then when he lands, say, that was a big fucking deal.
the Exceptional Conservative Show, Rooster from conservativeoutcry.net. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us this evening.
Thank
it
you,
has
guys.
been a pleasure.
God
It's
bless
been a
y'all.
pleasure.
Y'all
And
take
Ken, I will call into your show one night.
Oh, yeah.
I'm looking forward to it, Rooster.
You should have your own show. I'd listen to that.
No, I'm not good on the radio.
Just be this
You
show.
guys know that.
Tomorrow night we're doing a show on sex trafficking. So bring your own.
Oh my goodness. I'm almost afraid to call in. Can I say things that they just come out, and I later regret them sometimes.
My wife's doing the same thing.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us evening.
Thanks,
this
guys.
Friday night, we will not be on in lieu of this evening, so check us out the following Friday night.
No. We were on this evening in lieu of Friday.
Right, that's what I meant to say.
Yeah, okay.
So we won't be on this Friday. We will be on the following Friday.
But we will be on tonight.
We will be on tonight. What time are we starting tonight?
We already did.
Oh. Everything. Check us out, facebook.com/SackheadsRadio, sackheadsradio.com for our website. We are on Twitter at SackheadsRadio. Thank you so much for joining us this week, and we will talk to you later. Ciao.
Did you say ciao?
Ciao.
You will
Why the
not
hell
be held responsible
I just
for any
asked
hearing impairment
the
or
hangover.
damage
Are you
caused to you
we
from
made
excessive
a
exposure
sackhead
to
law
sound.
about
I